I never studied Shakespeare. I hated it at school.
Nymph, in thy orisons be all my sins remembered.
Maybe that's what he wanted, a fresh look.
My lord.
I had to lose a slight Cockney accent.
How does your honor for this many a day?
I was scared to death, because he was screaming at me in the scene.
Or if thou with needs marry, marry a fool, for wise men know well enough what monsters you make of them. Go to, I know more of it!
Olivier was both star and director, and at 39 he pushed his body to equal that of the young Prince of Denmark.
He said, don't lance off at the last minute. He said, come right at me, as if to stab me. He said, don't worry. And of course he didn't parry it, and it disappeared into his silk shirt, and blood spurted out, and the whole studio went into a hush. And I felt terrible, because this huge star at the end of my blade.
Larry was way up. I mean, it was like 12 feet high on the ramparts. And he did this leap and this scream. He was literally flying through the air. And I thought, if they wouldn't have a double for that, you know, he could have broken his ankle or something. No, Larry insisted on doing that.
Filming Hamlet forced Olivier to spend ever less time with Vivien at Notley. Alone, she became convinced that Olivier was having an affair with his young co-star, Gene Simmons.
He was working on the set of Hamlet, the little cutouts that he had, moving the characters around. And he said to Vivien, Vivien, darling, would you give me a gin and tonic? And she looked up with those beautiful eyes and said, get it yourself. And that was the first time I'd seen them not cuddling and kissing.
A lot of his co-stars later on were a sort of school of Vivien, shall we say. With Gene Simmons, for example, Olivier gets these women that look terribly like her.
Lord Hamlet.
Rumours going around that I was an illegitimate daughter of Vivien and Larry. Larry kind of kidded. He said you could be a kind of a strange mixture of myself and Vivien.
The winner, Laurence Olivier.
Olivier's determination had paid off, with Hamlet winning 4 Oscars, more than any other British film before it. But behind the public honours, Olivier's Hamlet had led to a private exploration of his childhood that seemed to compound the gulf that was widening between him and an increasingly brittle Vivien.
His mother died when he was very young. I think he was about 30. She was the kind of woman that you could imagine in a faded photograph, combing her hair or telling stories by the nursery fire. In Hamlet, the woman playing his mother looks like Olivier's mother in old photos. Obviously, he was working out his own feelings for his mother in those scenes.
O most wicked speed to post with such dexterity to incestuous sheets. It is not, nor it cannot come to good.
I absolutely worshipped and adored my mother.
For I must...
I often think and say that perhaps I've never got over it. Anyway, my father had to take over, not knowing me very much. I think to him I was rather an unnecessary child.
Your father was a high Anglican clergyman.
He was a high Anglican clergyman.
Did he have a great deal of influence on your life?
Oh,
Early
yeah.
life?
All my youth, I was terrified of him. He was a very frightening father figure, Victorian father figure.
Even as an old man of 80, he had nightmares about his father, who was obviously a dreadfully pompous man, and I think incapable of love.
He was very vulnerable because he aspired to a higher rank than the one that he was forced to inhabit.
Oh God,
it drove him, that ambition drove him.
God.
I think he became irreligious,
Stale, flat.
but he never actually attended to his loss of faith with much of his intellect. He didn't address it. So at the end of his life, I sort of said, how do you feel about death? And he said, I'm afraid the Furies will get me.
The spiritual side of Larry, the religious side, was sort of subjugated for ambition. I always remember in a conversation with Vivien at Notley, she said, do you believe in reincarnation? And I said, I don't know. I don't disbelieve in it. And she said, I think I've been here before. But she said, Larry's never been here before.
Their love was founded on the unhappiness of other people, their previous spouses and their 2 children. And so they both felt guilt for that.
She told me that I'd done terribly wrong. I took Larry from Jill, and there was Tarquin. I left Lee and left Suzanne, and she said, I'm going to pay for that. And she said, I have paid and I am paying. Vivien did not have the one thing she desperately wanted, which was a child by Olivier. That was something that was withheld from her.
As we hoped. Thank you so much for allowing us to speak to you.
I do agree with that, and I want to wish everybody a very, very happy Christmas. Thank you.
And a bright New Year.
She, of course, was a big public figure because of her movies, but that wasn't satisfactory to her. Being a great stage actress, her being an important stage actress, and being a figure in the stage, I think was a terribly important thing to her.
It was a pity for her always being cast as somebody beautiful. She devoted herself to being a theatre actress, and everybody always said, oh, well, of course, he taught her. She was too bloody beautiful. She'd have had to have worn a mask.
What would you say are the disadvantages of being an extremely beautiful woman?
What awkward questions you ask. I don't, depends who thinks I am. I don't think I am.
But you must have realized very early in life that you were.
No, I didn't.
And don't you think you are?
No.
Well, I can assure you, and here's one.
Well, you're very kind. Thank you very much.
2 people doing that. One going up and one going down.
Olivier was treated with much more deference, particularly by his admirer, the influential theatre critic Kenneth Tynan. It was he who would now expose the latent jealousy between the Oliviers.
What you need,
the Kenneth Tynan, Laurence Olivier relationship, I think is fascinating. The 2 of them were like Othello and Iago, really, or like Richard III and Buckingham. They were 2 people who were terribly aware of each other and very intertwined. You could tell that there was this real love of the talent.
Ken decided that Olivier was stepping down by performing with Vivien, and he never stopped referring to it in every paper that he wrote for.
Vivien Leigh's Lady Macbeth is more niminy-piminy than thundery-blundery, more viper than anaconda, but still quite competent in its small way. But last night Sir Lawrence shook hands with greatness.
Critics don't realize what damage they can do. She struggled like mad to take no notice, but it went in very deep, because it was not true.
Olivier's Macbeth would not have been as great as it was without her Lady Macbeth. Her great performances are great, and just wonders why she didn't give more great performances. But when she hit it, she really did do it.
You'd think Olivier, after that, would hate Kenneth Tynan and wouldn't want to have any kind of relationship with him. But Olivier could sort of overlook that personal dimension and realize that here was a great writer that he needed.